Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta, and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and the stories that drive our economy and shape our world. We begin with the arrest of the founder and CEO of messaging app Telegram. Reports say Powell, who is a dual French and Russian citizen, was detained in France after his private jet landed at an airport outside Paris over the weekend. This is part of a preliminary police probe into the alleged lack of moderators on Telegram, which authorities say paves the way for a wide range of crimes on the app. Telegram insists, however, that they abide by the laws of the European Union and that they moderate content based on industry standards. They add that their CEO, Durov, has nothing to hide. Meantime, France's government issued the arrest warrant following a preliminary investigation into alleged offenses, which include fraud, drug trafficking, cyberbullying, organized crime, and the promotion of terrorism. Durov founded Telegram back in 2013. After Russia launched an invasion into Ukraine in 2022, the app has become the main source of unfiltered and sometimes misleading content about the ongoing war. Elsewhere in the world, in India, a top industrialist, Anil Ambani, is looking to take legal action against an order banning him from the capital market for 5 years on charges of fund diversion. A spokesperson for the Reliance Group chairman says Ambani is reviewing the final order passed by the Securities and Exchange Board of India. The market regulator banned him and 24 others from the securities market for diverting funds at Reliance Home Finance, where Ambani, as the former chairman, was found to have orchestrated a fraudulent scheme. Anil Ambani is the brother of India's richest man, Mukesh Ambani. Elsewhere in the region, the Bank of China's vice chairman and president, Liu Jin, resigns for personal reasons. The state-owned lender says its chairman, Ji Jiao, will serve as the acting president. Liu was named president of the bank in April 2021. His departure follows that of former BOC chairman Liu Liang, who stepped down in 2023 and was investigated by the anti-graft watchdog. He later pled guilty to taking bribes worth more than 121 million yuan, or 16 million US dollars. China slams the United States for adding multiple Chinese entities to its export control list. This after the United States added more than 100 Chinese and Russian firms to a trade restriction list over their alleged support for the Russian military. This includes sending electronics to firms that produce thousands of drones to aid Russia's invasion of Ukraine. China's Ministry of Commerce says America's move disrupts the international trade order and hinders the normal flow of economic exchange. Beijing adds that they will take the necessary measures to safeguard the legitimate rights of their companies. Here at home, the Budget Department is confident that the Philippines can achieve an A credit rating within the administration of President Bongbong Marcos. This after the debt watcher Moody's affirmed the country's Baa2 rating last week, citing economic reforms, fiscal consolidation efforts, and better macroeconomic fundamentals. The Budget Department asserts that Moody's affirmation is a positive development and only makes the government more determined to work towards achieving an A credit grade. The Philippines has held a Baa2 rating, a notch above minimum investment grade, for 10 years now. This means that the Philippines has moderate credit risk. An upgrade to an A rating would mean that obligations are subject to a low credit risk. Let's now take a look at some of the key events that may spark movement in the financial markets this week. First up is U.S. chipmaker NVIDIA's earnings report on August 28th. Its chips are seen as the gold standard in the artificial intelligence space. In fact, its shares are up around 150% this year, lifting the S&P 500 to record highs. But the stock's stunning run and the AI mania have also drawn comparisons to the dot-com craze that imploded more than 2 decades ago. Also out later this week, inflation numbers in various parts of the world. August inflation figures in the Eurozone will be released on Friday, following a small but unexpected rise in July. Headline inflation, however, is expected to have eased as oil prices trended lower. The new numbers will also be key, as they will dictate whether or not the European Central Bank will cut rates in September. Elsewhere in the world, for the first time in 3 years, headline inflation in Australia could dive back down into the 2 to 3% target band of the country's central bank. But the Reserve Bank of Australia insists that interest rates need to stay restrictive for an extended period as underlying inflation remains too high for comfort. Now, Tokyo's August inflation report will be out on Friday. This will also offer clues on Japan's interest rate trajectory. The capital's core consumer price index is expected to have risen by 2.2% year on year, unchanged from July's pace. At this rate, the central bank may not be in a rush to hike interest rates. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. U.S. stock futures are little changed while Asian shares are trading cautiously amid heightened hopes of a rate cut from the U.S. Federal Reserve and intensifying tensions in the Middle East. U.S. futures tied to the Dow Jones and S&P 500 were slightly higher by roughly less than 0.1%, while the Nasdaq added 0.1%. Global stocks are coming off a strong week, highlighted by comments of Fed Chair Jerome Powell at the Jackson Hole Symposium. He said that his confidence has grown that inflation is on a sustainable path back to top 2%. Now, Powell also admitted that there is unmistakable slowdown in the labor market and that the downside risks to employment have increased. Now, to get a better sense of where we are and where we're headed, we have with us Manny Ocampo. He is the Senior Managing Director of the Investment and Capital Corporation of the Philippines, or ICCP. Good morning, Manny. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Maiki.
Manny, true to expectations, U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, he gave his strongest signal yet that interest rates would be coming down in September. He said that the central bank needs to act to stave off further weakening of the U.S. labor market. The key question now for central bankers is the magnitude of the interest rate cuts. What did you deduce from his comments at Jackson Hole, Wyoming? And what do you think the magnitude of those cuts are going to be?
I don't think they'll, Mike. I don't think they'll go to 50 basis point cuts. They'll probably stagger 25 basis point cuts from September, maybe up until the end of the year. So we'll see. So they have the potential for what 4 cuts. That's 200 bips out. But we'll see how they do on that one.
Right. Expectations are for a cut of 25 to 50 bips. But expectations are also that they may start cautiously with 25 bips. Now, the Fed officials' next policy meeting is on September 17 to 18. What do you think are the key data points in the U.S.? Inflation's top. But what else are they going to be looking at to gauge, how deep to make that cut?
Well, Powell said it himself. They'll probably take a closer look at unemployment as well and see if, a more, shall we say, a more liberal monetary policy will start opening up the job markets again and get unemployment down to levels that they are maybe more comfortable with.
Okay. Manny, here at home, the BSP preempted the U.S. Fed's decision to cut interest rates. That decision by the BSP to go ahead of that curve. What do you think this tells us about the Philippine economy?
Well, 2 things there. I think BSP is essentially saying, before Mr. Powell said time to cut is there, but I think our own BSP said, I think we believe the Philippines has pretty much tamed inflation already, so they've done that preemptive rate cut. Now, I guess people will say that, well, that was surprising considering that July inflation came in a lot higher than expected. But on second look, the July inflation numbers were really more cost push driven than they were demand pull, which is what you would address with rate movements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, July inflation print came in at 4.4%. Do you think that it peaked? in July? Do you think that our
I
inflation
believe
peaked in
so.
July?
I believe so. I think BSP is also saying, that is peaked already. I think at the 6.5% policy rates that they set, and they brought that down to 6.25, and they will start progressively bringing that down, I think, towards the year end. I think they want to start promoting growth in the Philippines again. So we'll see. And the rate cuts really impact quite a bit, quite a lot of sectors. Government spending will hopefully pick up over the last trimester, last quarter of the year, and we'll see. Government still has a lot of things to catch up on that one.
That's right. We shall see. But it's a promising position to be in, a looser stance on monetary policy in the U.S. And here, right now, the PSEI, since before the abbreviated trading week last week, we ended at 69.62. We're just 8 points shy of the 7,000 level. You think Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's cementing the push for lower interest rates in September? And when it eventually happens, do you think that this is going to be the catalyst, the rising tide that floats all boats,
Well, it'll provide the impetus, I guess, for the equities market to, start picking up. You'll probably see fund managers that have been equities off over the last year and a half, or 2 years now, start to take a look at the equity markets. And these are guys that don't want to be left out on a upswing. Will they come in aggressively? Maybe not yet, but they will start picking up. And you probably will start seeing value turnover picking up over the next several weeks. No, I guess the next action will be, will the BSP cut rates again when they meet in September? So two things there. The inflation print, when it comes out in early September, if that is going to be lower, then that's almost a foregone conclusion that BSP will cut rates. And, as soon as inflation comes out, numbers are low, I think equity markets start to move up more aggressively up.
That said, what's your year-end target for the PSEI? Everybody's had to constantly revise their target given the economic developments and the rate cuts. What was your initial target for the PSEI to end 2024, and where do you see it now, given that the Fed is, they're just there, they're just about to cut those rates?
Maybe just to frame what I'm going to say. Initially, we thought that maybe rates were going to be cut as early as October, only in October, but they've cut it in August. So we initially thought maybe 7,000, 7,200 was a year-end target when the BSP starts cutting rates. We're maybe more optimistic, cautiously optimistic, I should say, to about 7,500.
Another big thing the market is, another potentially big thing for the market, especially in the U.S., is the U.S. presidential elections. What are your views on that? How big of a wild card could this be for the markets? And between the two candidates, Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, which one do you think is going to be better for the global equities market?
Well, if Harris wins, so you pretty much will have the status quo as far as economic policy is concerned. Where we are right now, that more of the same. If Mr. Trump wins, you may have a shift in policy, shifting to a more inward-looking, U.S. policy. So they'll try to promote things within the U.S., strengthen U.S. companies, maybe, and maybe the implication of that for the Philippines in particular is, Trump may say, I'd rather have you guys that are offshoring bring back jobs and onshore back into the U.S. mainland. So that may impact us a little bit because we are, a key offshoring area for a number of American firms. so that is one thing that would hurt us. Maybe wanting to lock down as well. Google, Amazon, etc. Don't move out your data centers into other countries. Work it out from the U.S. We have the pipes anyway to run it there. So maybe data centers get affected by that as well.
That's right. That's right. Kamala Harris would be more of the status quo, and Donald Trump is really more inward-looking, more U.S.-centric. He may take jobs away, the offshoring jobs that you mentioned. Sounds like you're for Harris.
Well, I'm for whoever benefits the Philippines more.
All right. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about: fuel retailer Topline Business Development Corporation is looking to IPO in the near term. Correct me if I'm wrong, is ICCP the underwriter for this? Are you, yeah?
Yes, we are the lead underwriter for that. Sorry, I may not be able to say much us against what's out there right now, Mike.
If you just tell us what the company is involved in.
Okay, they are, a regional fuel distributor. So they are like, they would distribute fuel. They're a wholesaler, if you like. They would distribute fuel to big bulk buyers, people in the transport industry. For example, the bus companies, shipping companies based out in Cebu, medium-sized businesses that may need fuel to run their businesses. And right now, they're growing their retail, outlets as well. No? By end of the year, hopefully, they should be up to 7 or so retail outlets already.
Yeah, I read that they're looking to expand their market share from the current 10% to double that over the medium term. Now, in 2023, they netted over 100 million pesos, this according to their Vice President and CFO, Constance Marie Lim. So something interesting to watch out for. I know you can't talk much about this, so we'll leave it at that. Manny Ocampo, thank you so much, the Managing Director of the Investment and Capital Corporation of the Philippines, or ICCP. Thank you again, Manny.
Thank you.
We're taking a quick breather. Basis Points will be right back. Welcome back. Let's check on the business headlines in the major local news websites. On Inquirer, Moody's Analytics says that the government's aggressive infrastructure spending push will help sustain the country's high growth rate of 5.9% this year and 6% in 2025. That's even as the Moody's subsidiary flags the program's uneven execution in the past year. On Business World, the National Economic and Development Authority says that the Philippines may have to benchmark the number of holidays against its Southeast Asian neighbors, warning that having too many holidays may discourage foreign investors. And on the Philippine Star, the Transport Department may no longer pursue a plan to bundle the privatization of the operations and maintenance of the MRT-3 and LRT Line 2, citing a number of challenges. Now, a stunning development in the commercial space race as 2 Boeing Starliner astronauts stranded in the International Space Station are set to be rescued by the firm's rival, SpaceX. Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams flew to the ISS aboard the Boeing Starliner capsule back in June. It was supposed to be an 8-day test mission, but a series of technical glitches in that capsule has so far kept the astronauts on that space station. The Boeing Starliner is expected to return to Earth unmanned in early September. Meanwhile, after a formal review, NASA says both Wilmore and Williams will return to space in February on a SpaceX aircraft that's due to launch next month as part of a routine mission. While Boeing says this was not the decision they had hoped for, they're ready to carry out the necessary actions to support NASA's plans. And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Maiki Oreta. Stay tuned tomorrow for more news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel, always on top.